Does a unicorn exist in your worldview?
Yes, unless you.
I doubt this guy's scientific. He believes in fairy tales, and he thinks he's scientific. Unicorns exist. Seriously, bro. I had respect for you about your claim that your standard is science. Now it became a fairy tale. How are you? You alright?
Alright, great.
What's your name, Kalim?
Yeah.
Are you?
What's your name?
My name is Hashim.
Hashim, yeah.
You are?
Yeah, I'm Elon.
Elon Musk?
Kind of, yeah, sounds like.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Very nice. You from where?
I'm from Taiwan.
Taiwan. Good. So, we come here on Sundays.
Yeah.
You know about this place? Speaker's Corner?
I've been there like for the first time.
Your first time here? Alhamdulillah.
This is actually my first trip to London.
First time in London, wow.
Yeah, so I haven't been in London.
You heard about this place, Speaker's Corner?
I found this place on Google Map.
On a Google Map, yeah.
I love to listen from all kinds of people, also in my country. So when I think okay, this is a really cool place. Like everybody's debating. So
it's a place about where it gives you freedom of speech, so you can talk about any topics.
Yeah.
That's a good thing about this. It's been here like more than 150 years. This place.
Yeah.
So famous people like Karl Marx, Lenin, and all used to come here, and you can talk about anything. Is there anything you wish to talk about?
No, actually, but you're doing really good. Yeah. So someone believe everybody should be equal, and we should have freedom of speech. Yeah. So you're doing really well here.
Okay.
Discrimination and good. World peace.
Do you actually practice any particular religion or ideology?
No, actually, I'm doing science, but love to hear about religious things.
You don't?
I don't, because I'm kind of doing science.
So what?
I focus on
Are you saying
science.
religious people can't be scientists?
No, I know. I'm
Some of the earliest scientists, the classical scientists, are actually very religious.
I know.
Newton believed in God, you know that?
Yeah, so I'm here to learn about religion.
Oh, you're here to learn about religion.
Yeah.
You come to the right place then.
My whole life is like I'm doing science, so I don't know much about religion.
Have you ever given a thought to, let's say, even using science, have you ever wondered where all of this existence came from?
Yeah, of course, that's like one of the core scientific problems. Yeah.
So where do you think the universe came from?
Sorry.
Based on your understanding, where do you think the universe came from?
Universe. Lots of theory.
Sorry?
There's a lot of theory here.
Yeah. What's the best theory you accept?
Best theory.
Your let's say the theory which is the closest to what your belief is, your ideology, or which resonates best with you. The Big Bang theory?
Big Bang was the modern physics theory, but I don't know physics, so not quite sure.
You're not quite sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
More about the origin of life, but not quite the origin of the universe.
Even the origin of life, if you look at abiogenesis, I don't think science can explain where the first cell came from or how it emerged.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think scientists have idea about these existential questions.
Are you debating him?
It's more of a discussion than a debate.
How long? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's like I said, look, they can postulate, they can have an opinion, but not based on evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can, even the Big Bang, they can roughly tell you the age of the universe based on the microwave background microwave radiations, and because of that they can calculate roughly the age of the universe.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't tell us how it originated. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you think science will ever have an answer?
Yeah, I do. I actually do.
You do?
Yeah, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, there's something that science can do, but for this question, I think scientific.
Do you actually believe that the universe at one point didn't exist and then it began to exist?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But I'm not quite sure because
Because if it began to exist, then the question is, how would science ever know what existed before it began to exist?
yeah, so
You can't see beyond the universe, can you?
I think what scientists do is not to provide it's not for provide an explanation for it. It's for
No, I'm saying, is it even logically possible to look beyond the universe? Is it logically possible?
I thought of that.
Think about it now. Now is it a chance? It's always the first time.
Yeah, but I do believe.
So you think it's logically possible to look even before the universe started?
Yeah.
It's possible to look beyond that.
Possible. Like,
How?
I'm not quite sure if it's really possible.
When they have no concept of time and space.
Yeah.
So without the concept of time and space, what will you see? Because in order to see, what is the minimum thing you require in order to see something?
Energy.
Light.
Energy.
Light, not energy. You can have mechanical energy, but if it's dark, you can't see anything.
No.
So what is the minimum thing you need in order to see, based on your obviously your eyes? The minimum requirement is light.
Okay.
Do you agree? That's pretty scientific.
Okay.
You agree with that? I don't want to force it on you. I want you to think about it and then respond. Okay? Because there are many places in the universe where there's no light. So our telescopes, doesn't matter how powerful they are, you can't observe in those corners where there is no light. Forget about seeing beyond the universe. Even within the universe, you can't see certain. I think most of the universe you can't see today. We might have found only a fraction of the total amount of the universe. In fact, we haven't even discovered or even explored all our oceans yet. There are many places in the oceans which we haven't discovered. So how can you then possibly think that we can look beyond the universe? It's impossible. Because when there's no concept of time or space, it's impossible to see in that realm. And there's no light, obviously. You can't see that, can you? So now the question is, look, the universe began to exist at some point. Yeah? And if we take the principle of cause and effect, you know cause and effect, yeah? What do you think? Give me something probable that had caused the universe. Anything that's probable or the most, let's say, logical, rational explanation for the cause of the universe.
I mean, like, scientific thing is not based on perception.
Sorry?
Scientific thing is not based on perception. It's like observation.
You can't observe. So what is the other alternative now?
Yeah, like,
you know, you can use inference, which is used in logic. Yeah, you can infer something. Yeah, that when it is very cloudy and the clouds are dark, you can infer it's going to rain today.
Okay.
Yeah, that's called inference. You might not have seen the forecast, but based on inference, based on the observations, you can infer certain things. You can derive using logic. For example, in order for something to exist, is it possible for that thing to create itself? Think about it. Did you understand the question? For something to exist, for something to come into existence, is it possible the same thing created it?
Yeah, I think so.
No. Give an example from the universe where such a thing exists, which created itself. Because it didn't exist at one point. How will it create itself?
For human, we only live.
Sorry, say again?
For human, we only live for like 100 years almost. Like, you see the time frame of millions of years.
Even millions of years. Logically, it's impossible. I'll tell you how. It is like saying, can a mother who gives birth, can the mother create itself?
Do you believe we have a common ancestor?
They didn't create themselves. Who told you that? Do you actually believe that? They created themselves. That's why I asked you about the first cell. The scientists don't have an answer to that. About abiogenesis, they have no clue how the first cell came into being.
Yeah.
They can give lots of assumptions, but those are without evidence.
Those are evidence.
Without evidence.
Yeah, evidence.
Where's the evidence for the first cell? Go on, give me.
Yeah, that's, actually, the first evidence of cell is not cell.
Second? You need to speak up. I can barely hear you.
Sorry. The evidence of cell is not actually from cell itself.
So where did the first cell come from?
It's from like geological structure.
No. Where did the first cell come from?
Yeah, so from geological.
Okay, let's say you have a geological structure. How did the first cell come into being?
So there's kind of microstructure.
Have you studied this or are you just speculating now?
I studied it.
Oh, you studied biology?
Yeah,
Did you study abiogenesis?
I studied medicine.
That doesn't mean you studied abiogenesis.
Yeah.
Just because you can be a doctor, but it doesn't tell you anything about how the first cell originated.
Yeah, true, but I also studied. I'm not really an expert. I'm not too experienced about that.
Yeah, so I don't want, look, first thing is, if your basis or standard is science, then you shouldn't just speculate.
Yeah.
Okay? You're no different to some of these people who believe in whatever ideology they have, like maybe a rock can be God, something like that. Yeah, they can speculate like that. But if your standard is science, then use science as a standard. I'm asking you something which never existed before. Can it create itself? It didn't exist at all before. Can it create itself? Logically, is that possible? Scientifically, is that possible?
So, if it create nothing.
No, can it create itself, not something else? Listen to the question. Let's say the universe didn't exist at one point. There was nothing before it. Let's say. Could the universe have created itself if there was nothing before the universe and one day it originated? Is it possible for the universe to originate itself?
I mean, science have an answer to that.
Science has no answer to that.
Yeah.
It can only speculate. And speculation is not science. Because science requires empirical data, empirical evidence.
Empirical data is speculation.
So what you're saying is speculation, it's not scientific.
Okay, so we don't actually know if smoking can.
No, I'm asking you, is it logically possible?
No, I think we have different understanding about science, actually.
Okay. Is science logical or illogical?
Some is logical, some is not.
So all the principles of science are logical, yes?
No.
No, it's not?
No.
Give me an example of an illogical scientific law.
Okay, so have you ever heard like the second law of Newton?
Yeah, the second law of thermodynamics. What about it?
The second law of Newton is
Newton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Newton's like what's that called? Sorry.
Wait, that is the second law of thermodynamics, right?
It's second law of Newton, like physics law, like F equals MC. Sorry.
E is equal to
equals MA.
You're talking about
like the one about acceleration.
Oh, you're talking about entropy?
No, not entropy.
Then what? Of acceleration. Yeah. What about it?
So it's not for universe.
How is that illogical? I asked you show me some principle.
It's from empirical data.
No. How is it illogical? I asked you, is there any law that is illogical?
I mean,
I don't think it'll be scientific if it was illogical.
Scientific is like.
Yeah, scientific requires.
In my field.
Scientific requires empirical data, empirical evidence, for it to be accepted as a theory, even.
But how do you accept it?
Based on evidence.
No, there's uncertainties.
Sorry, based on?
Even if you have evidence, there are also uncertainties.
I know.
That uncertainty.
So until it's uncertain, it will remain as a postulation, not as a theory. It will not get the status of a theory. A theory is based on peer review, based on evidence, not just based on, you can have a hypothesis. You can say we all came from aliens.
Okay.
You can have a hypothesis.
Yeah.
Now what you will have to present to the panel is evidence for your claim that we came from aliens.
Yeah.
If you can't provide evidence, then it is disproven. Your theory, your postulation will not become a theory. It will remain an opinion, that's it. Opinions are not scientific theories.
Yeah.
So unless and until it is peer reviewed, and you will not go very far with any postulation without evidence that is logical, and you can present it to them, to the panel,
So the
peer review panel.
Like, so when you are deriving a result, or like your postulation from your data, there's some illogical process here. Like, there's uncertainties here. So how to accept an uncertainty is small enough to be ignored?
That's why it will not go to the level of a theory.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you.
So most of the things are not theory.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Maybe you'll understand it this way. Can nothing give rise to something? Can nothing create something?
You have to prove it.
Huh?
So
No, it's a question. It's a question. Logically, empirically, can you answer this question? Can nothing create something? Is that a yes or a no?
in my field, it's a yes.
Is it yes? Which field is that?
Example.
Which field is that?
Like, still is an example.
Second? You need to speak up, bro. I can barely hear you. In which
Biological cell, it's an example.
biological cell came from nothing?
Yeah, it came from nothing. Actually.
Where did you get that from?
It's replicable. It's a replicable
What is it? Okay, you're in the medical field. Tell me what a cell is made of.
cell. There's a cell membrane.
Yes.
And there's some organelles in the cell.
What else is made of?
So it's like kind of a.
It's got a cell membrane. What else is it made of?
It's a
Give me the
layer.
components of a cell.
Okay, it's kind of a layer of oil.
Oil?
And there's a lot of the cell membrane is like imperative.
Then I will accept that. It's made of cell membrane, but what else?
And there's some protein.
And?
There's DNA.
Some DNA, yeah?
Yeah, there's all kinds of molecules there.
Okay.
There's sugar,
Right.
the ATPs. Yeah, there are all kind of things.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah.
What is the main thing you missed in a cell?
What's that?
The nucleus.
Nucleus. No, the nucleus is another layer of membrane.
I know, but it's in the cell, right?
Okay, you
Yeah.
can say.
And what is in the nucleus? What is the main powerhouse of a cell?
Mitochondria.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think mitochondria just appeared one day? From nothing? Really?
Really.
You actually believe that? Then you have a lot of faith, not evidence in science.
Yeah, so-
That's called scientism. So you've made science as your religion now.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
So that's my religion.
No, but unfortunately, what you said cannot be accepted scientifically. Because science is based on evidence, not speculation.
Yeah.
What you said is speculation. That mitochondria just appeared one day.
I mean,
No, speculation is not evidence, bro. Not in every.
I mean, the speculation. The speculation you've done.
Cheers. Have a
That's
nice
fine.
day.
Thank you.
So,
Second?
the speculation you said is actually based on evidence. You think it is speculation?
No, speculation is not based on evidence. You know, someone can speculate, I saw a unicorn.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think that is based on evidence or speculation? It's a claim.
Speculation.
Exactly, but is that based on evidence?
Depends.
I just told you the guy claimed that he saw a unicorn. Does a unicorn exist?
Like in science.
No. Answer this question first. Does a unicorn exist in your worldview?
Yes. Unless you.
I doubt this guy's scientific. He believes in fairy tales.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's scientific. Unicorns exist.
have to
Seriously, bro.
disprove it.
I had respect for you about your claim that your standard is science. Now it became a fairy tale.
Yeah.
That's your standard.
Yes.
Fairy tales. How is that scientific?
You have to be open-minded if you're a scientist.
No. Open-minded doesn't mean you have to believe in fairy tales. I'm sorry, this has gone from bad to worse for you. I thought I was approaching someone who's logical, rational, scientific approach. But as soon as you said unicorns could exist in your worldview, I think it's now gone down the drain.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, very disappointing.
Yeah.
No problem.
I mean, the probability.
Are you a doctor?
No, not
No?
yet.
So why did you study medicine?
Interesting.
Just interest? Okay. Well, did you have like an aim, an objective before you took the course?
I'm now doing something about dementia.
Sorry?
I'm now doing something about dementia.
Dementia. But from a medical perspective, yeah?
Or medical.
Okay, interesting.
In the field of medicine.
I hope you find a cure for that.
Yeah,
So-
I hope so, but
It's a very important invention or discovery if you do.
if you
But
enough.
but at this rate of believing in fairy tales, you won't do much. So stop believing in fairy tales. Rather, you should believe in God, And that is not a fairy tale. I'll tell you why. Because
I'm interested in that.
look, we did not come from nothing.
Okay.
Because nothing in reality doesn't exist. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, if something doesn't exist, it cannot bring about something.
Okay.
So if nothing doesn't exist, then it cannot create anything because it doesn't even exist. It's just a concept.
Okay.
Yeah, like the number 0. Number 0 cannot automatically become 1 or even -1 because it basically represents nothing. And that is what nothing is. So for us to understand that logically, or rather using inference, we can come to the conclusion that because the universe cannot come from nothing, there must be something outside the universe which brought about our existence. And whatever is outside the universe should have certain qualities, certain attributes, which enabled it to create all of this universe and what's within it and so on.
Okay,
all
so
of
I've heard that before, but
Yeah.
the real question I really wonder is that you have to provide a theory about that, right?
Yeah.
So where does your theory come from?
Now,
How do you prove it? And what's the evidence?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
not everything requires empirical evidence.
Okay.
For example, if I were to ask you, have you done a DNA test of your parents?
Sorry?
Have you done a DNA test of you and your parents?
No.
No? But you believe they are your parents, right?
Yeah.
Is that based on evidence?
Yes.
No, it's based on faith.
They're not evidence.
It's based on testimony. That is the evidence. Because evidence is not necessarily empirical all the time.
Okay.
It can be testimony, and we as Muslims, we believe in the testimony of our Prophet and Messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. And because we have a lot of evidence to prove that he's a Prophet and Messenger of God, he cannot be just an individual who is just a common man, and he was able to give you a lot of information about not only things in his time, but even things beyond his time, like in the future. A lot of prophecies which are coming true today and going to come true as well later on. But besides that point, the Quran, I don't know, have you ever had the opportunity to read the Quran?
Yeah, but not really got through it. Not Quran. There's some of them, but long time ago, so forgot.
Okay, would you like a free copy of the Quran? I can give you one.
Yeah, I have a free copy of Quran.
You have?
Yeah, I actually got one from like Westminster.
Oh, you got one from there?
I got one.
Alhamdulillah, very
Got
good.
one.
Yeah, but we can always arrange if you don't have it. So what you can do is that copy of yours, read it and see if it makes sense to you.
Okay.
See if it gives you some knowledge, some information, which you can then look. As Muslims, we say that don't just read everything and believe everything. We say Allah is telling us in the Quran itself to ponder upon it, to reflect on it, to reflect on the creation. Okay? And that is exactly what we are telling you. So have an open mind, that's all we're asking. And inshallah, based on that, you can come to a conclusion. But what is your view with regards to life after death?
Sorry, because I'm not from a country so my country is neither Christian or Islamic.
Yeah. Is it mostly Buddhist?
Mostly kind of not Buddhist.
Sorry, kind of?
Kind of not Buddhist.
Not
It's
Buddhist?
actually a mix of Buddhist and other things. Whatever.
Did you say South Korea, did you say, yeah? Sorry, Taiwan, you told me Taiwan. Yeah.
South Korea is not a system, but Taiwan has its own system, I guess.
What is a major religion then? Atheism?
Not atheism.
Then what?
Traditional religion.
What does that mean?
I mean, it's kind of mixture. It's not Buddhism.
Okay.
So it's
Spiritual?
40% Buddhism, 30% Taoism, and 30% anything else, anything local.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so it's kind of mixed.
So it's mostly kind of Buddhism. Taoism.
Buddhism.
Taoism is also
Kind of.
related, yes.
Yeah, but not Buddhism.
Yeah. So do you actually believe in any of these? Buddhism or Taoism?
I mean, I do, but it does
You
not
do?
affect my decision.
Sorry, it's a part of a decision. Interesting.
So, yeah.
So what is
my decision.
what is your view with regards to this concept of reincarnation, which I think the Buddhists and the Taoists believe in?
It's kind of my, so I told you, if someone told me something about fairy tale, I don't, so...
You think it's a fairy tale? or-
I don't think it's 100% true, but you have to believe it's for some probability. It may be true, but how possible is that?
Yeah.
Another problem.
On what basis do you have any certainty about this concept of reincarnation? On what basis? Definitely not scientific, right? Because the scientists don't even believe in a soul. Do you agree? The scientists don't believe in a soul.
We do believe in soul.
Scientists. I'm not talking about you Buddhists, I'm talking about scientists.
No, depends.
No.
There are lots of scientists.
Oh, I see what you mean. So
Scientists.
what I meant is using empirical evidence.
Yeah.
They don't have empirical evidence for soul.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it? So these scientists, I know many scientists believe in God. I have no issues with that.
Yeah, I know. No issue.
However, because when I say scientists, because most of the scientific so-called understanding is evidence-based and mostly empirical evidence. So you will not find empirical evidence for souls. Okay? In fact, the Quran itself says that there is very little knowledge God has given us about the ruh, which is the soul. So this is a field in which very few people would have the knowledge of, and even the knowledge they have it's very little. So what if there is no reincarnation, and what you believe in is false? What then? How will you go about dealing with your afterlife when you have only one life, and this is it?
Okay.
No second chances. And then one day we die, and that's the end of it. When I say end of it, sorry, it's rather the beginning of a new life. Because as Muslims, we believe that we have one life, and God is testing us in this one life. And depending on how we are, like whether we are obedient to God or disobedient to Him, God will judge us based on that.
Okay.
So this is only a one shot, yeah, one chance. There's no return ticket.
Okay.
One way flight. So when you die, that's it.
So
and
what
then,
we believe is that.
Sorry?
What we believe is that they're like you know something about Buddhism.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So depends on how well you believe. You will behave this life. You'll become like a dog, a human, or like something better. Maybe.
So you believe you might be, not you, but let's say someone who dies because they led a bad life. Actually, I was just speaking to that Hindu guy. You were listening, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he believes the same thing, that if your karma is bad, you come back as a dog or a pig. Or maybe a untouchable, untouchable chandala.
That kind of system.
Or if you're a good person, you come back as a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, or a Vaishya, which is a higher caste.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what they believe. Do you believe something similar?
We taught that
Yeah.
from our childhood, but I don't actually. I mean, you can't disprove it.
I don't need to. Look, let me ask you something.
Okay.
Do you believe in justice?
Yeah.
Do you think justice, we should be just with everyone?
Yeah.
We should be just with everyone.
Ideology, yes.
Let me ask you something. Do you remember anything from your past life?
No.
No. Then how can you condemn someone from day one of their birth that you are being punished because of your past life? Because I asked another Hindu, and he said, okay, what if a baby is born without an arm? He said, oh, it must have done something bad in his previous life. Now the question is, the baby doesn't remember, nor do his parents remember, or her parents remember, what that child did in his previous life that is born with this disability. Wouldn't that be unfair and unjust for the child to go through his entire life knowing that it was a bad person in his previous life? And that is where the injustice is. Whereas you see, we also believe that as Muslims, that when a child is born with a disability, we say it is from God. But we don't blame the child that it is because of its previous life.
Yeah.
We say maybe God is testing either the child or the parents.
I agree with you for this one.
Yeah, so God can be testing the child, testing his parents, testing even the environment, the society it lives in. And how we deal with that kind of situation. It might be unfortunate, but maybe there is something that we learn from that. Yeah? So this is what, we don't blame the child for it.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Nor do we blame God for it.
You shouldn't.
Because you see, God is giving us this life as a test. In fact, there are certain people who have a mental disability. And even that, for that individual, is a test. And for the parents, is a test, for the society is a test. But there's a hadith of the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, that for 3 individuals, the pen has been lifted. That means on the day of judgment, they will not have no accountability. So one of them is this individual who is mentally,
Mentally challenged.
Yeah, deficient. And because you cannot judge a mentally deficient person with the same accountability as a normal individual. Because sometimes these individuals who are mentally deficient, they can't even differentiate between good and bad. How can you then hold them accountable for the things that they have done when they have no faculty of reasoning to do so? See what I mean? So it will be unfair and unjust to blame that individual when they are born like that. However, on the day of judgment, this is one of the individuals for which there will be no accountability, and God will, out of His mercy and forgiveness, will forgive them and enter them into Jannah. The same thing with the children, before puberty, and the same thing with someone who is sleeping. For someone who's sleeping, they can't do any mistakes, can they? Or maybe unconscious.
Yeah.
So these people are, the hadith says, I'm paraphrasing here, the pen has been lifted from them. That means they will not be held accountable. But you see, in your perspective, in your ideology of reincarnation, you always blame the individual for the past life, isn't it?
Yes.
And when no one remembers what they did in the past life, it is basically like, putting you in prison.
Yeah.
And not telling you the reason you're being punished. You will remain in prison in a state which is which will make you mentally disabled. Yes, to such a state where you'll have depression and anxiety, and obviously you'll have this hatred for the law, because they said that you deserve to be in prison, but we're not going to give you the reason. And unfortunately, today we see such cases like in Gaza, where they imprison people, imprison doctors, imprison even children, and they don't tell them the reason why they're imprisoned. Just we have suspicion, or you're dealing with a terrorist. That's all. That's just a claim from the side without any evidence. And we have other people who have been imprisoned, unfortunately, without any cause. So this is what we are trying to say, that for an individual, to maintain and retain their sanity, you have to be told the reason why you're punished. And if you're not, then that system is unjust. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And that is the reason we as Muslims, we believe that this life, which gives you one chance, and some people, they live like 70, 80, even 100 years, I think is more than enough to come to an understanding as to why we are created. If I were to ask you, what is the reason of your existence? What is the purpose of your existence? What would you say?
I need a reason.
Sorry?
Some other reason, actually.
I didn't get that. You need to speak up. You didn't think about it?
Yeah, no, it's not a problem for me. No.
No. What is the purpose of your life? It's a valid question.
Yeah, it's a valid question for me.
So what's the purpose?
Life is meaningless. So
Say again?
for me, life is meaningless.
Life is meaningless. Oh my God, this guy is a nihilist.